The big battle we've all been waiting for is certainly looming. It's just count 'em, 3 episodes left for House of the Dragon's first season, and it's full steam ahead now, it seems. This extra long episode has a lot to unpack and notice, so without further ado, let's see what the 8th episode has in store for us. The opening centers on Rhaenys at Driftwood, being told of her husband Corlys suffering from a fatal wound whilst in battle. She's told this while Baela, one of her granddaughters, stands beside her. It appears that the man who's very much all about family legacy has set off on a potential suicide mission. In the book, Fire and Blood, Corlys is often said to have a fever, which he's also said to have along with his wound here. But it looks like the show is toughening the sea snake up. Rhaenys is also heard mentioning that it's been 6 years since she last saw her husband. This hints at the time jump this episode takes from the events of episode 7. Rhaenys is then greeted by Sir Vaemond, Corlys' brother. As he speaks to his sister-in-law, he persists that in light of the recent actions surrounding Corlys, the heir for Driftwood needs to be decided indefinitely, and that he won't allow a bastard to take the throne instead of him, as he holds the true Valyrian bloodline in his veins. Rhaenys warns him of the treacherous words he speaks and how they could be the end of him, foreshadowing how he should hold his tongue later in the episode. Come on, that was pretty good, right? We see Daemon going full Bear Grylls as he ventures down into the depths of Dragonstone and recovers 3 dragon eggs that have been left by Syrax, Rhaenyra's dragon. As you expect, this isn't a daddy prepping breakfast for the family. The 3 eggs are fitting for his 2 newest children, and one that we'll get to in a moment. It's likely that one of these eggs will hatch to bring out Morning, a dragon who is one day ridden by Rhaena Targaryen. Just imagine if he had a bit of the 127 hours incident getting back up. At least he'd be able to pair up with his brother Viserys. Little fact, Dragonstone, where Daemon and Rhaenyra now reside together and play happy families, is built around Dragonmount, which is an active volcano and actually does play home to various dragons that you'll probably meet in the future of the show. Upon returning to the surface, Daemon is then informed of Vaemond's intentions, which threaten the claim to Driftwood for Luke, Rhaenyra's son, from her marriage to Laenor. Well, from during her marriage to Laenor. The fact that Daemon gets this information so promptly shows that having his daughter, Baela, at her grandmother's side has come quite in handy, it seems. Upon seeing Rhaenyra, we find that she's pregnant. Once again. Sheesh. Targaryen ladies are like gumball machines. She enters to see her son Jace learning High Valyrian. Notice one of the lines Jace recites, saying about how Aegon landed at the Blackwater Rush, which refers to Aegon's landing that came on the undefended lands there, which began his conquest of Westeros. Jace is learning from Maester Gerardus, who was present in the last episode during Rhaenyra and Daemon's nuptials. If the show does follow Fire and Blood closely, then he will become quite important, so keep your eyes peeled. We also see a young Joffrey, a bit older and with those strong features. Take that sentence however you see fit. It looks like Harwin was the daddy, that's all we're saying. From Daemon, Rhaenyra then gets the news of Vaemond wishing to challenge Luke's right to Driftwood. I know! How dare they question the parentage of someone who is clearly a bastard? Ah, well, all's fair and all that. Rhaenyra also mentions how Rhaenys believes she and Daemon to have conspired to kill Laenor so they could get hitched. Which is true, to an extent. Rhaenys is a quick one, isn't she? We don't know about you guys, but we're kind of siding with the queen who never was. Anyway, they decide to head to King's Landing to straighten this out with the king, and that his queen. Upon arriving in King's Landing, the family is only greeted by Lord Caswell, with their cold reception appearing to be thanks to Otto Highwater if you listen carefully during the council's meeting. Caswell, you may remember him as being the first to congratulate Rhaenyra on the birth of Joffrey in episode 6, when he passes her in the corridor. What a sweet guy. Let him live through all of the oncoming horrors, yeah? Well, unfortunately, that probably won't be the case, as in the book, Caswell does pay a price for not swearing allegiance to Aegon after Viserys' death. You'll notice, as Rhaenyra and Daemon do, that King's Landing has had a bit of a makeover. Gone is the Targaryen heraldry, and in is the emblem of the Seven, the main faith of Westeros. From seeing Alicent in the next scene, you'll notice the same emblem on her necklace. It looks like she's been the main person behind the renovation, and her being the person mainly holding the paintbrush would make sense, seeing as she probably wants all of the citizens on her side. What better way than to show her allegiance to their main faith? Speaking of paint, it looks like people would rather watch it dry than be in the small council meeting thanks to Lord Beesbury. During the council's meeting, we meet Jasper Wilde, the new Master of Laws, who weighs in on the heir of Driftwood. Hey, Did the writers not think to maybe slip Driftwood by Travis in somewhere in the episode? Maybe a band playing it during the dinner scene later on? Just a thought. Anywho, during the talk of the new heir, notice how Jasper wears green and Beesbury wears black. The former happens to be in favor of Lord Vaymond, whereas the latter believes the topic to be unnecessary, as Corlys already pledged Luke as the heir. Team Green and Team Black are building up nicely, it seems. The meeting also has a mention of the settlement of the Stepstones. Does that mean that House of the Dragon's answer to the Star Wars prequel's political scenes is over? Unfortunately not if Daemon's dialogue with Viserys is anything to go by. But we can dream, can't we? Rhaenyra and Daemon visit a, let's be polite, disheveled King Viserys in his bedchambers. You'll notice that his model town is now complete. Yay! Though it is covered in cobwebs and looks like he hasn't had a chance to play army on it very much. Not yay. The model's appearance hints at how old and destitute Viserys himself has become over the years. The couple tells Viserys of the trouble Vaymond is bringing to King's Landing, whilst then also showing him his newest grandchildren, Aegon, yes, another one, and Viserys. Aw, how sweet. The children do then begin to cry, however, probably due to seeing their grandfather's rotting face. What a happy family memory. Off the back of a night, relaying Alicent with news regarding one of her sons, she's brought a young girl named Diana, who appears shaken and traumatized. In quite a harrowing scene that's likely to make you squirm, it's implied that the young girl has been assaulted by one of the princes. One guess as to which one. Hint, hint, he has two eyes. It has been seen since episode 6 just how much Aegon is a fan of the ladies, but also how much they're freaked out by him. Now we understand why. Alicent does seem to have sympathy for the girl, most probably from remembering how her own father pretty much tried to pimp her out to Viserys in the first place, though in the end she's quite cold-hearted and shows how no one would probably believe her claims, and gives her gold coins for her silence anyway. Diana is also given the moon tea that Rhaenyra had in episode 4 to rid herself of a possible pregnancy from sleeping with Sir Criston, though, as in the book, Aegon has 2 bastard children, with one being from one of his mother's handmaidens. It looks like that tea isn't quite strong enough. Alicent goes to confront Aegon, who is found in bed naked. Seriously, this guy just loves being in his birthday suit. From the response he gets from his mother's disgust, it looks like he has grown even more in arrogance since pleasuring himself out of a window. Alicent's line, "You are no son of mine," is also a callback to one of Tywin Lannister's final lines before his son Tyrion ends him. Thank the 7 that no one was sitting on the toilet during this version of that line. Though we do see a softer side to Aegon, as he says how he doesn't feel he'll ever be enough for her or his father. It looks like the pressure of potentially edging in as the heir to his father is a bit too much for him. Aw, poor baby. Not. What? That joke would probably kill in Westeros. We also find that Aegon is now wedded to Helaena, and Alicent seems pretty sorry for her given the hug she gives. Alicent does come to greet Rhaenyra and Daemon, although it's so late that she'd be closer to saying goodbye, really. It's implied that they haven't seen each other since the incident of the last episode. Notice how the camera focuses on Rhaenyra's scar from Alicent's craziness. The pair confront Alicent on Viserys' condition, and how she and Otto now seem to be keeping the throne warm whilst he is bedridden and can barely communicate. Milk of the poppy, which has been given to Viserys to ease his pain, is actually key to drowsiness and hallucinations. Otto must be so pleased to have the king in a world of his own. Jace and Luke are seen venturing around King's Landing and end up in the courtyard watching the knights train. Luke worries about how everyone is looking and notes of their resemblance to Harwin Strong as opposed to Laenor Velaryon. This echoes their finding out Harwin is indeed their father in episode 6. We then see Aemond and Sir Criston training, pretty violently, with Aemond eventually getting the upper hand. This comes as no surprise, as in the book Aemond is said to be quite the swordsman and very unforgiving. From the look he gives Jace and Luke also, it seems like he is quite the axe to grind. Who can blame him? Well, if it could speak, his left eye socket. We then see Sir Vaymond enter with quite a presence due to the army in his wake. Take note of the sinister look he gives Luke. That's a man who has arrived to claim a throne. Vaymond meets with Otto and Alicent regarding the heir of Driftwood, and this probably works in his favor. In previous episodes, we've seen how Alicent is very critical of Rhaenyra's children and their parentage. We're also very aware of how Otto doesn't wish to give the visiting Targaryens any form of goodwill. So, Vaymond is probably pleading his case to his biggest supporters in all of Westeros. Rhaenyra goes to speak to Rhaenys and confronts her about Vaymond's attempt to claim Driftwood as the heir over Luke. Of course, Rhaenys fires back about Laenor's death, More like the death of his flowing white locks, right? Yeah, that didn't land so well. Rhaenyra puts forward a bargain with her second cousin. Back Luke as heir, and Rhaenyra's sons will be betrothed to Rhaenys's granddaughters. Baela and Jace rule the Seven Kingdoms, whilst Laena and Luke rule Driftwood. Everybody wins! This is funny in a way, seeing as earlier this season Rhaenyra was actually angered with her father for seemingly trying to marry her off with some sort of ultimatum. Irony! But Rhaenys smells her desperation and refuses. However, she's wearing black. Subtle hint at foreshadowing, do we think? Rhaenyra then visits her father, who confuses her for Alicent. Awkward. This is a nod to the last episode, which saw Viserys call Alicent Emma by mistake. His mind has been turned to mush over the years, it seems. Rhaenyra asks him if he thinks the secretive song of ice and fire is true, and mentions the burden and pressure of being his heir. She also asks that he defend her and her children in their current struggle if he really does believe her as a strong and suitable heir. Unfortunately, he can barely breathe out a full sentence, let alone comfort his daughter. Notice the mouse in this scene that's on Viserys' model city. You'll remember that rodents have popped up throughout the season so far, such as in the blood left by Laenor's lover Joffrey getting his face pummeled to death. In short, they're pretty bad omens. We then witness Viserys being rebandaged like something from a Frankenstein movie as he requests Otto to bring together all of his family for a supper. Who's ready for an unforgettable dinner with the Targaryens? From the way Otto seems quite hesitant about the idea and Viserys insists on it, it's apparent that the king is aware of Otto's feelings about his daughter's family. Otto oversees the court to foresee the succession of Driftwood's throne. Yeah, Otto is definitely getting nice and comfy on that throne, isn't he? Vaemond steps forward and makes his case, at one point making the point that he is a true Valyrian, which rifles Rhaenyra's feathers. Or dragon scales, what have you. As Rhaenyra fires back at Vaemond, Alicent is quick to quiet her down and let Vaemond continue. Well, it's clear to everyone who she's siding with now. Once Rhaenyra has her chance to step forward, she's quickly interrupted by the valiant entrance of none else but her father, crutch in hand no less. "I will sit the throne today," he says. "We don't blame you with how you struggle to get through the room, Viserys. Also, check out that cool golden eye mask. We bet Aemon wants one of those too." Viserys puts the court to rest by saying Rhaenys should settle who's to take up the throne. Surprisingly, she chooses Luke, which is ironic off the back of her debate with Rhaenyra, and seeing as in a previous episode she tried to twist Corlys's arm into changing the successor to Baela. Take note of how Aegon is happy with this decision as he notices how disheartened his mother and grandfather are. He's going to be having some mommy issues in the years to come. The decision from Rhaenys sends an angered and embarrassed Vaemond into a rant, in which he calls out Rhaenyra's children as bastards and even has a stab at Rhaenyra. Every knight and his dog is then ready to cut the man down. But it's Daemon who out of nowhere cuts off any chance of Vaemond having an open casket as he gets one of the coolest moments on the show so far. This event is less dramatic in the book, with Rhaenyra simply hearing Vaemond making comments about her and having Daemon kill him and feed him to his dragon. Well, the show was much more badass. He may keep his tongue. Mic drop moment. Also notice Aemond and Daemon's locking of eyes here. Well, eye in Aemon's case. It's foreshadowing their future from the telling of Fire and Blood. Rhaenys is then seen witnessing Vaemond's body being prepped to be sent back to his home by the Silent Sisters. The Silent Sisters, of course, have been seen before, firstly in the pilot episode of Game of Thrones, seeing to the body of Jon Arryn. We now get to dinner time, and at first it's pretty tense as you'd expect. As happy as Viserys is to see everyone together, no one else is the same. Maybe he was just in a good mood with that cool entrance to the meal that he had. The king sees the dinner as a celebration of the marriages of Jace and Luke to Laena and Baela. Notice how as they toast this, Otto doesn't do so. Bitter, bitter man. Viserys then gives a speech saying about how he knows his time is short and that it won't be long until he's gone. He then removes his golden mask as he wishes for his family to see him for all that he is, with no pretense. Sheesh, let them get through the appetizers before you show the eye socket, Viserys. He then makes a point of having his family members put aside their differences with one another. Rhaenyra extends an olive branch to Alicent, strongly, and in a heartfelt way, to which Alicent returns. That's going to make the Dance of the Dragons hurt more. Despite Aegon's cruelty, Jace extends an olive branch, to which Aegon weakly responds. Helaena then gets to make a toast about how the girls' future husbands will probably ignore them apart from when they're drunk sometimes. She gets a bit of a punchline, to be fair. This woman can stick around. Helaena does also have an interesting line at one point. "Beware the beast beneath the toe boards." Now, in the previous episode, we heard 2 lines from her that hinted at Aemond losing an eye and the Dance of the Dragons itself. With no answer to what her latest could be by the episode's end, it leaves it open for interpretation in the future of the show. One thing's for sure, that the beast probably has wings and breathes fire. Most of the family then seem to be enjoying themselves. A rare HOTD happy moment. That is, until Jace asks Helaena for a dance. Viserys is taken back to his chambers ill, and Aemond does a sarcastic toast for his nephews, after Luke sniggers in reference to remembering Aemond's pig gift, Pink Dread, when they were younger. This causes the young men to break out in a fight, and the meal is then broken up. Though this scene is taken from the book, the occurrences are slightly swapped around, with Jace and Helena's dance being the final straw. Did you also notice how the brawling started after Viserys' exit? The last time he'll have seen all of his family will have been them all happy. How sweet. How unfortunate, though, at the same time. We then see Alicent's maid, Talia, visiting Mysaria. It's here that Mysaria is cemented in her work as the White Worm, which Otto Hightower referred to in Episode 4. To refresh your memory, Otto used the spying services of a young boy when Rhaenyra and Daemon visited a brothel, and when the young boy reported back, Otto told him to ensure the White Worm is paid, which turned out to be Mysaria. Looks like her spying business is going well. It appears she's also grown in wealth, with Talia even calling her my lady. Things do seem to be looking up for her. The fact that she's also already aware of what's happened in the Red Keep seems to imply that she has quite a network of snitches working for her, with one already giving word of the night's events. As Viserys lies in bed in agony, Alicent sees to him and gives him more milk of the poppy to ease his pain. Then comes something that Viserys will leave in his wake. Unfortunately, he confuses Alicent for Rhaenyra, and lets slip about the Song of Ice and Fire prophecy and the prince that was promised. By talking about Aegon and the true heir, and that she must make it so, Alicent misreads it as him giving her the job of ensuring their son, the wrong Aegon, is made the next ruler of the Seven Kingdoms, to which Alicent accepts her assignment. Well, we don't know whether to laugh or cry at that one. Once Alicent leaves, Viserys seems to draw his final breath, not before uttering, "my love." Notice that he's reaching up in the final moments that we see him. It appears that in his final moments, he's reaching for his deceased wife, Emma. It wouldn't be a stretch, seeing as he's been pining for and missing her in previous episodes. From there, it's clear what's coming. A certain dance. No, not the reprisal of Jace and Helena's dinner dance. 2 episodes left, and it looks like there are sure to be some big moments in the fallout from Viserys' final message. Did you notice anything else in the latest episode? What do you think will play out in the final 2 episodes? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section.